IPAs, not necessarily my favorite, unless you put the word cold in front of it. I do like hazies, but today we're going to be brewing up a cold IPA using Thiolized yeast from Omega Yeast. And you might be wondering, what is a cold IPA? Well, a cold IPA is an IPA brewed with lager yeast at colder temperatures, creating a crisp, drinkable, yet generously hopped India Pale Ale. And they're my favorite in terms of the IPAs. Nothing beats a nice Pilsner, but the cold IPAs are some of the best IPAs. So let's jump right into it. So for the grain bill, we're going to be rocking with 70% two-row and 30% flaked corn. However, I screwed up and did not have enough two-row, so we went with 50% two-row, 30% flaked corn, and 20% Pilsen malt. Ideally, though, the recipe I intended for was 70% two-row and 30% flaked corn. So we're going to be using some reverse osmosis water, and our water profile we're going to be targeting is the Hoppy Light in the Brewfather app. If you're not using the Brewfather app, I highly recommend it. It makes brewing so much easier, especially when it comes to configuring recipes. So we'll be setting up the mash tun while the strike water heats up, but in the meantime, for the water additions, we'll be using some calcium chloride, Epsom salt, and gypsum in both the mash and the sparge. It's targeted 5.5 gallon batch with 4.5 gallons of mash water with a little over 3 gallons of sparge water. All the information will be down in the description below, as well as a link to the recipe if you want to add this recipe to your Brewfather. Pictured here is my buddy Rocky. He is my brewing assistant, and I'm actually trying to get him to sit for this shot, but he was kind of being rather non-compliant, but he does help. He's there every brew day, whether it's to eat grains or nap. He is ready for the action. Alrighty, so now it's time to start transferring the strike water to the mash tun. We're going to be mashing in at 149 degrees for 60 minutes. So I like to transfer the water and let it sit, let the mash tun heat up. If you guys haven't heard of it, I definitely recommend Brewer's Friend. It's an app or a website. You're able to calculate your strike water by punching in your grain temperature and then what you want as your mash temp. And it helps kind of calculate that for you, so you don't really have to do any math. It's great. I love it. You should use it. Alright, so now it is time to dough in or mash in. So basically with this step, you want to pour your grains in, not super slow, but you want to pour some in, give it a little stir, pour some in, give it a little stir. You don't want to create any dough balls or have the grain clump together. You wouldn't be able to extract those sugars for the wort. And then, that kind of lowers your efficiency. And you don't want that. So you want to do slow, stir it, pour it in, stir it, pour it in, stir it. I probably didn't do a good job with that in this video, but you definitely want to, pour a little bit, stir, pour a little bit, stir, and then you want to, give it a nice stir at the end when it's all said and done. Really get that mixture going, and it smells delicious, so make sure you're catching whiffs. So my system, I'm unable to consistently recirculate the mash, so I usually start my recirculation and Vorloff 5 minutes prior to the mash cycle ending. So you mash for 60 minutes. I usually start my recirc at the 55-minute mark, and then I just let that go for about 15 minutes or until it starts running clear, and then I start sparging at about 180 degrees. You definitely want to sparge over 170, but 170 to 180 is great. And this is that brand new schlick looking ssbrewtech hop spider. If you're on the market for a new hop spider, I definitely recommend this one. It's great. There is a video on my channel already explaining it and talking about it, so make sure you head on over there and watch that video. I'll leave a link in the description below as well. I do think it is a really nice, sleek looking piece of hardware. And this is Foamax. It's designed to help stop boil over and a lot of foam. You can find this at your local homebrew store. I haven't been able to find it on Amazon. Next, we're going to be adding the hops additions because we got our beer to a boil, or our wort, as you call it. So we're going to be using a ½ ounce of Nelson at 30 minutes in the boil, and then that will contribute about 15 IBUs. So again, we're going to be adding in the Nelson at 30 minutes. Just going to dump that in, let that boil. And now that the boil is over, we're going to be adding in our Whirlpool addition. So we're going to be using another ounce of the Nelson hops, and that will contribute around 7 IBUs. And then we're going to be using some Citra Lupomax, and an ounce of that, and that's going to be contributing about 13 IBUs. And then we're going to finish it off with some Simcoe. We're just going to be using ½ an ounce of the Simcoe, and then that will contribute about 5 IBUs. All in all, we're going to be shooting for around 40 IBUs. I don't like my beers too hoppy, but we're going to add that in at 190 degrees Whirlpool for about 15 minutes. And then we are going to chill our beer down as fast as we can down to the optimal pitching temp. And this is the most important advice I could give you. Make sure you sanitize everything that touches the beer, from when you start cooling it to when you add it to the fermenter and everything after. You definitely don't want to infect your beer and then ruin it. And this is Spectrum from Barth Haas. This is a revolutionary new fully dispersible liquid hop product that delivers full true to type dry hop characteristics with no solvents or artificial additions. You just mix it in with some cold wort and then you put it in the fermenter. I'm adding it now while pitching the yeast because I want to see how it interacts with the Lunar crush yeast that I'm using from Omega. Alright, so now it is time to finally taste the Cold IPA. Super stoked. I mean, I've been sampling it, so it's nothing new, but love the clarity. It cleaned up really nice. All in all, really happy with this beer. I'm getting guava notes, citrus notes, and then tons of citrus flavor, a little bit of passion fruit and guava, and then a little back lingering notes of some pine from the Simcoe. I nailed the profile that I wanted. It's a really good beer. I'm really enjoying this one. Can't wait to share this with friends and family. Really love how it turned out. So with that, thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit the subscribe button. If you didn't like it, leave a thumbs down. It's all good. But if you did, make sure to hit the like button. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again next time. Cheers.